Well done, Andy. Oliver Cornock is here. Oliver is managing editor of the Oxford Business Group. Good morning, Oliver.
Good morning, Oliver.
Good morning.
Welcome.
What would you have expected or preferred in terms of economic progress in Spain on Sunday?
Investors look for stability, and I think that's what we at Oxford Business Group as a body looking at market opportunities want to see. That's what people want. And of course, unfortunately, this sort of coalition battle that's going to take place now, with Christmas in the middle as well, doesn't bode well for a quick resolution. There could, of course, be an agreement soon. I think the other point, of course, as Sally mentioned in your piece, youth unemployment's really high, and perhaps that's a reflection of young people's dissatisfaction with the current model. And it's not the first time, of course, in Europe that we've seen populist movements come to the fore. In the UK, of course, we saw that here. So I think it was not entirely unpredictable, but of course a very unpredictable outlook now for the short term anyway.
I was just going to say, I mean, as you say, it's not unpredictable. We could sort of see that it wasn't going to be a clear path, certainly for Mariano Rajoy to be re-elected by any means. The question is, a difficult coalition, some are describing it as a possible messy coalition, one which will not mean clear policy. And we mentioned the issue of youth unemployment. That's been around for years, and that's not easy to fix, is it?
Very true. And the other thing that's been around for years, of course, is these separatist movements in Spain as well. Where are they going to play into this? And I think that's very important. And we've already seen that there's some of these smaller parties, Ciudadanos, taking quite strong positions on those. So, yes, as you say, no clear answer there.
China? We talk about it a lot.
Yes, we do. And it's quite interesting, actually, because at the beginning of this year, I do remember at the beginning of every year, various bodies, organisations will release their projections for the year ahead. And China was being highlighted at the beginning of this year as a concern, as a possible black cloud. And that's not changed, according to Chinese-based think tank.
I think that's very true. China has become a huge engine of emerging market growth. And what's been the big story in this last quarter, that in fact most of the year has been the demise of many of these emerging markets. Many of the markets I cover have been suffering under these huge losses. They're all also very commodities driven. And China is a huge, huge global consumer, and therefore a massive barometer of what's happening in the commodities markets. And we've seen a huge rout this year, and it doesn't show any sign of bottoming out. And going into 2016, of course, that's what we're going to be talking about.
I mean, the issue with China is everybody's saying it needs to be an economy led by domestic demand growth as opposed to massive infrastructure and investment and that kind of thing. And what it says, this think tank is saying growth in household spending will be easing to single digits as slower income growth makes consumers quite wary. And I thought that was quite an interesting comment, something we need to sort of take heed of, really, as we go into the new year.
Absolutely, especially as the Chinese economy is transitioning. It's not a standard economy, of course. And what we've seen over the recent years has been this development of certain elements of maturity. And one of those is huge retail-driven growth. If you go to China, as I have recently, there are huge numbers of designer boutiques, and therefore that's a massive economic force.
Well, exactly. And if consumers are concerned about their income not going up, they're not going to spend in those boutiques, are they?
This deal that the WTO, the World Trade Organization, has done, it itself describes it as the most significant outcome in agriculture since the WTO was founded in 1995.
Certainly agricultural ties and agricultural barriers have been an obstacle in so many of these individual WTO negotiations, many of the ones I've looked at in the Middle East, for example. Agricultural subsidies have been a huge part of that. I think the other factor here, and why this is telling at the moment, is that food security is something that we as economists are hearing so much more about going forward. It's been brought into the fore again in the context of the environmental conditions, global warming. What's that going to mean going forward? The global population's increasing. So food security for a lot of poorer countries is a very big deal. And it was intriguing to see that this is the one fillip they've held on to from this meeting, because some of the other coverage has been rather more negative, the end of the Doha round.
And also as well, I was just going to say, I mean, for the World Trade Organization, this is good news, isn't it? Because, of course, this year it's all been about the TransPacific Partnership, bilateral deals, not global deals involving the world and his wife. It's all been about this part of the world negotiating with that part.
It's also led to many people, and we've discussed it on many times in terms of conferences and things. Are these massive bodies too unwieldy to come up with genuine solutions that can help the world's poorest people?
OK, I think we have to move on, do we, Amanda Ketis? Yeah, we do? OK, I had a question for you, but I'll leave that until the next time you appear. OK, I know what I'm doing on New Year's Eve. I think it's going to cost me about £25 because I'll be asleep.
OK.
Right, I'm working in early that day, I'm sorry. I've been awake for far too long. But if you want to spend money, Dubai is the place to go.
Dubai is clearly the place to go, and I spend an awful lot of time in Dubai, and I say to people, it's quite an expensive place to live, work and play. And of course, New Year is all about play. You might not have Dubai on the top of your list for New Year, but of course there is a huge amount of appeal. Decent weather, superb hotels, superb restaurants, and the opportunity in quite a conservative area to have a party.
And for cities, it's the big event, isn't it, of the calendar. They want tourists in their city on New Year's Eve.
And Gulf economies are suffering with the oil price at the moment. And so Dubai has also got the other factor of being dollar pegged, dollar going up. Revenues surrounded by countries that are suffering a bit more. Dubai relies very heavily on its Gulf neighbours. So it's an interesting time. What does Dubai do for its tourism offering? Does it try and cheapen the offering, get more people in? Big questions to answer.
Just to help the viewer a bit, the average spend per person on New Year's Eve, according to this study, is Dubai, this is in dollars, $548 in Dubai, $445 in London, $426 in New York, $194 for Hogmanay in Edinburgh. Got to get there one year.
In your household. All right. Star Wars, Wall Street Journal, many newspapers and press looking at how much money they made in this last week. I mean, it was premiered Monday night last week in LA, but of course now you can watch it anywhere in the world.
Absolutely, but it hasn't even opened in China yet. We were just talking about this.
My apologies.
This retailing market in China really fascinates me. It's something that's such an engine of growth. What will that do to figures? There's a huge demand. There's huge appeal of these sort of young people.
I'm not surprised though that it's conquered the box office. It's smashed records.
Well, absolutely, yeah. The hype has been amazing.
Amazing marketing. I think for Disney, it's a great story as well. We've been looking at this story with the ESPN. You know, their sports franchise. Really interesting. The other point there, of course, is that this is, I think, the first of 6 movies as well. So this is, you know, we're in the money.
That's right.
But actually, overall, in terms of the portfolios that you put together, analysing the different countries around the world, does entertainment even figure at all, or is it just a minor issue when it comes to all the big things?
No, increasingly important, very important.
Really? Yeah.
Not least because, of course, we're watching our movies, our films on various devices. We're no longer just sitting at home watching the television. People are streaming things on their mobile phones. And the important thing is, of course, that in lots of the developing countries that I cover, people have leapfrogged from TV. They've gone straight to their tablet to watch things. It's very normal. It's not unusual. So, yes, the huge barometer. Retail is a massive, we call it retail, but, you know, play.
Sport, right? Sports rights.
Absolutely.
Massive. I would have voted for Andy Murray if I'd been awake. I wasn't, unfortunately. And he did really well. And yet, he was a member of a team and he got the individual award.
Yes, not I suppose, a great advert for team play.
But the team also won an award, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But, you know...
And great news. We were very pleased about the Davis Cup. But I think poor Andy Murray does get a rough ride. I think anybody who plays sport at the professional level, the dedication they have to show, you know, they might have a chink in their armour and it might be their personality in front of the camera. We all know that's not always easy. He also made a good joke, didn't he, about being as dull as a wet weekend in Worthing. Poor Worthing. You know, very good. For me, though, as a racing fan, Tony McCoy, Lifetime Achievement, wonderful.
There was a documentary about A.P. McCoy recently, wasn't there? What a guy, what a guy. Oliver, thank you very much indeed. First appearance, really enjoyed your company.
Thank you very much.
See you soon, have a good day. Bye-bye.